Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to my reaction to Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 18. I'm very happy to say that one of my friends, Cherry, has started watching Season 1. Well, she's probably like further than halfway. I'm sure she started watching it not just because of, I think her brother recommended it, but also the community. I hope that she was encouraged to watch it because we were all talking about it, and um, yeah, I am excited for if she maybe catches up before the finale of the season, and then yeah, we can talk about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Why am I being so awkward? It was a rough day, okay? Anyway, I'm gonna jump straight into the episode now. There is something that I maybe want to address from last week, but if I still feel like it, I'll talk about that at the end. So let's see first what the episode brings us. How could they?
人も財産だ。むやみに失いたくケーテルどもが王の意におののき降伏するならばそれに越したことはない。追い風されど波高く求むる地は未だ陶器にある。
Nice sound effects. Is that his...
酒でも飲ませて寝かすときまったくしょうがねえおやつだぜもうすぐ敵の軍団がここに来るぞこの農場丸ごと奪いになオルマールはい来いお前は初陣だ俺のそばにいて戦のやり方を覚えろ相手が相手だこれが最後の戦になるかもしれねえがな
The first thing I thought was that even if he says, "Fight with me, the battle is coming soon, grab the weapons," I bet half the people would run away or just join the king. But also, I'm wondering if he finds out about Arnezu, that she's pregnant. I wonder if he will stay the same. Maybe it will wake him up a bit, this guy. If he can get there in time.
いや修理ったってお前こんなもん数日で直せるかよ俺が教えてくれねえんだ
Yeah, because he told us once the soldiers were gathered. He doesn't want to cause a panic. But you did. And what I said last week was, I agree with his reason for fighting. I agree that in that situation, Heavy was in the wrong and Thorfinn needed to fight. But people lost their shit to the point where I felt like I wanted to say, you know what? You can keep dick riding him, but he's just a fictional character. He's not gonna give you head pats. But I was just annoyed. There wasn't time. And to be fair, if all of that what happened was set into motion long before he could even do anything, like the fact that slavery exists in the first place is the main issue. And there's people with more power than him, Thorfinn, I mean, that could have done something earlier if something needed to be done. Or, yes, of course something should have been done. The original issue, don't fucking have slaves. That shouldn't exist in a society. But okay, that exists. So where from between slaves exist to Thorfinn fights Hebi for Arnes and Garjar because they deserve freedom. There's 1,000 decisions that could have been made by 1,000 different people that could have led to that situation never happening. But that's the conversation for another day.
だけど一番いい方法って何だったんだろう。最初の手段を見つけられるようになりたい。
Invent a time machine.
その通りだ。アルネイズ。どこだ。アルネイズ。
あら驚いた。お早いお帰りですのね、あなた。ハラルド王が亡くなったそうじゃありませんか。あなた？
アルネイズ。
あの奴隷のアバズレ女なら縛り上げて馬小屋に放り込んでありますよ。逃亡を企てたんですよ。旦那様へのご恩も忘れてね。昔の男がやってきて手引きしたんです。客人が大勢死にました。この件いい加減に済ませちゃいけませんよ、あなた。
なぜだ。なぜ何もかもわしの手からこぼれていくんだ。逃亡だと。
Uh-oh.
なぜだ。
Uh-oh.
聞いてねえな、そんな話は。合わせるわけにはいかね
ケティルさんがトルフィンの解放を約束したんだ。いるのがわしの探しているトルフィンかどうか知りたいんじゃ。
旦那に確認を取ってからだ。そうでなきゃ拘束中の人間とは絶対に誰とも面会させん。
何か不都合でも。
不都合？
ですがレイフさん、奴隷購入の資金に余裕は終わりですか。
おい、まあ多少トルフィンはタダで譲ってもらえる約束ですし。
トルフィンとエイナルはなんとかなるでしょう。アルメイズが難しい。本当に厚かましいお願いなのですが、レイフさん。
Oh.
たく退屈だ。女が目の前にいるのに手も出せねえ。どうせ旦那はお前の尻を 2,3 回引っ叩くだけで全部許しちまうよ。お前の罰が俺たち客人に任されてなくてよかったな。それぐらいじゃなきゃ死んだ仲間が浮かばれねえ。
Yeah, cause they're out there in the fucking Havala or wherever they be, and they're thinking, if only a person was raped for my death, I could then rest in peace.
何をしている。
旦那。
He went like, uh-oh.
うせろ。
He snapped and now he's taking all his stress about everything and his whole life's gone to shit. Now he's gonna take it out on her. She better say very fast that she's pregnant. I don't know if he'll believe her, but maybe if anything is gonna snap him back out of his snapped out state, it could be that. What's sad to me is like just I'm getting ahead of myself. I should address this later. But what's just sad to me, like even if he smacks the shit out of her, there's still gonna be people in the comments that are like, well, that's how things were at the time. And, or I don't know. The only person they keep making excuses for is someone else. So maybe they won't say that about Kittle, but let's see what happens.
逃げようとしたのか、わしから。なぜだ、アルネイズ。なぜ。
My dude, she's gonna lose the baby.
なぜだ。なぜわからん。何のために。 りを奪う者は許さん。
My dude, you have no pride left. That is why you're snapping right now. You have no pride. You are a shit puddle who let your son cause that. And then also, it's not 100% your fault because it was planned by the king. It was a conspiracy. But it's so sad. It's so sad because he has no pride. But it's not like... but I don't know. Whether you are a horrible slave master or the kindest slave master you can be, at the end of the day, you're a slave master. But even if you're not a slave master, even if you're a slave, it's like life seems to suck a little bit, right? Just a little bit. So at the end of the day, you're like, what the fuck? Oh my god, he's killing his own child.
お腹赤ちゃんがお腹でお腹で赤ちゃんがいます。これ以上はお許しを。
誰の子だ。
誓って旦那様のお子です。本当です。信じてください。
わしはお前の
He's too far gone.
信じていたのだ。何を信じろというのだ。信じてたぞ。本物だと。みじんも歌わずにいたもの思い知らせてくれるか。盗人どもに
Oh, she's dead.
この手で。
確かにアルネーズの罪の重さなら棒打ちは当然でしょう。
Does it? Does it make sense to flog her? Executing her? Like, I understand that people like Hebi, and I also, up until like last episode, I would have said, yes, I like Hebi. But the more people was like dick riding him and making defenses, even if I'm just saying, all I said last week was, I don't think he's in the right here. I understand why Thorfinn is fighting, and I wish that Hebi would back down or just take the other old guy that was sick, Kettle's father. I wish he would just take the deal. That's all I said. And then people were dick riding fucking Hebi so hard it made me like really double down and think about, because he talks about, I understand Thorfinn's point as well. I understand why people would at least have respect for him, because it feels like, oh, he has principles. But and they keep speaking like, oh, that's how things were at the time. Da, 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 da. But if you keep making excuses for the people upholding the system, this is not principle. If the slave master wants to kill his slave, if we're all gonna be like, oh, this is the way things were, we can say nothing, then technically we have to accept this too. Do you understand my point? Like, I don't understand that people are saying about principles and oh, da da da, and I'm just like, I don't understand that it's double standards. If he can stop the boss from killing his slave if he wants to, if Hebi has the knowledge, the understanding, the foresight, the principles to do that, he could have made a lot of other decisions before this as well. I'll just mention now what I was gonna mention later, because I just know how people are gonna see. Kittel is on top, right? On his farm, he's the king. Obviously, he has a king above him, but we're not talking about that right now. On his farm, he's the king. Then he has a bunch of slaves, and sure, he treats them nicely, but there's people he gives these slaves to, or I don't know, who did Arnese's husband belong to? I'm not sure. But my point is, even if he treats them nicely, they're still slaves. And they could decide, you know what, we don't want to be slaves. We don't want to be happy. Oh, at least our slave master is nice. No, fuck that. We're going to kill him. They can kill him if they want to. But they can't, because he employs Hebi and his men. So that's why the system works. So even if they are not as bad as the slave master, any logical person would have to admit that they're not the good guys. And that's the only thing I wanted to say last week. But now people want to insist insist that I must decry the fucking, okay, I can't do that, but I must love and Hebi as much as them, worship, because clearly they know more than me. But at last week, I didn't know that, I didn't think of that. Right now, I can see why they want me to kiss his feet and whatnot. Like, oh, thank God, he stopped Kettle from killing Arnes. There's a lot of other things he could have done that would have made me like him a lot more. But sure, I should have seen into the future, seen this episode, seen what he did, and last week just overlooked everything else he could have done. Like, accept Kettle's father's farm. He could have, in honor of the 5 men that died, he could have raised crops and fed people in their fucking honor. But no, we should accept. Anyway, so my point is, regardless of whether or not they are the slave masters, they're still a part of the system. That's the only thing last week I wanted to say. Now he decides, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to stand up against the system a little bit and just be like, you know what? Don't kill your slave. I could have let her go with her husband last week and accepted your father's farm, and I could have raised crops in honor of my men and fed their families and children, or I don't know. There's a lot of shit he could have done, but he didn't do that, and I'm supposed to accept because he stopped her from dying here. Now he's the best fucking thing since sliced bread. But furthermore, if you want to apply this more to like recent events, think of I don't know, a pedophile island and children getting shipped off there, right? Shipped away to this pedophile island. Now, let's say you are just the guy that shoves the kids in the boxes, and when they try and run away, you smack them, make sure they're knocked out, and put them in the box with the rest, and then ship them over to the pedophile island. You're not the one abducting the kids from their parents. You're not the one raping them on the pedo island, but all you're doing is shoving them into the boxes. And you know what? It's really good pay, and you get to feed your kids. So this is just the way the world works. We're just supposed to accept that. Like, this is stuff that happens in modern times. Slavery is not as obvious as it used to be back then. It's more subtle. It has to happen behind the door, at least in most Western countries, right? But there are still people shoving kids into boxes, and by your standards, we should just be okay with that because that's the way the world works, or because, like, no, at some point, people have to realize, like, if more and more people said this isn't okay, then maybe slavery would be less. I don't know if we could stop it entirely, but maybe it would be less. But no, because we keep saying, well, I have no power, I have no power, I have no power, when we do, at least these guys have some power. If they went away, they would probably be replaced with other guys. But then I'd shit on those guys. But my point is still, Hebi is enabling the system. Oh, props to him. He finally decided to grow a pair and realized maybe don't kill her. But I don't know. He could have not killed her if you let her and her husband free because they're slaves. They deserve to be free. But no, that's not his job. His job is to keep people enslaved for the slave master. So even if he's not as bad as the slave master, he is at least not a good guy. That's the only point I wanted to make last week. But then people were like, I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you know what he's gonna do in the future and you've forgiven him. We can see this show is big on redemption, atonement. Thank you, Thorfinn's character. But Thorfinn had to learn. Maybe I didn't make the right decisions at some point and I can do better now. So if I fucking didn't like, let's say last week, I wanted Hebi to make another decision, you don't get to tell me like I'm stupid or whatever for thinking that that's possible. Because if he has the principle to say, hey, slave master, I don't think you should smack her silly. Even though by their standards, he has the right to do that. Just like everyone else said, oh, but Hebi has the right. Hebi has the right to kill Garzar because Garzar killed his men. Well, by that logic, by your logic, if Hebi had the right to kill Garzar for killing his men, that he only killed because he was trying to escape, he was trying to get free because he was a slave. So by your logic, if Hebi has that right, then then he could kill his slave if he wants to, because that's the way the world works back then. But no. Hebi decided, I'm going to say something. Because Hebi's allowed to say something when it suits him, but I'm not allowed to say fucking last week that I think maybe Thorfinn was right for fighting Hebi. Oh, Hebi is the king. Hebi is so amazing. Oh, wow. The double standards. Wow, I'm shocked too. If only you had as much sense last week that maybe not killing is necessary just because you have the right to do it. Maybe taking the farm would have been a good decision too. Letting them go. Oh, but he should let her go, but God forbid someone says Hebi should let her go last week. Now, this man is a man I can get behind. He's my fucking favorite character. Fuck all the other characters, except Thorfinn and his friends. But right now, this is the only one I give a shit about. But mainly that's just because I'm mad at last week's people. You don't have anything anyway. Let her go. That baby's dead. She'll make it. And then she'll live a horrible life. Or I don't even know. Maybe now I want Canute to fucking take the farm. Just so that Kittle can't have her. But all of this is happening. Like, he snapped because of fucking Canute, so... But I can't be mad at Canute either, because Canute wants to do good things. So he's allowed to also take farms and kill people because it's for the greater good. I'm not allowed to be mad at anyone. You know what? I'm not going to react anymore. I'm just going to praise all the characters because they're all amazing and perfect and their decisions. So I'm not going to say anything else because I feel like I'm still angry. And obviously when I'm angry, I don't think what I say through properly. And the problem is with that, like, people talked shit last week and now I talked shit back. And now that's not going to change anyone's mind. Now everyone's just going to be in defense mode and double down on what they think anyway. So I won't say anything else except that everything's a 10 out of 10 as always. I have nothing to complain about, except maybe I would give just a 5 out of 10 to some comments last week that annoyed me. I wanted to wait until the end of the video to talk about what I've talked about, but then the episode kind of, drew it out. I'll just end with, 10 out of 10 for the episode. I don't care if you like Hebi at all, if you found a reason, if you think of him differently, like, if you find a reason why, I don't care if you like him, but don't tell me like I'm stupid for not liking him or put words in my mouth. I hate if you put words in my mouth. I said what I said, and you can listen and you can respond to it, but don't put words in my mouth, okay? And then last but not least, what was the last thing? 10 out of 10. You can like Hibby. Don't put words in my mouth, though. Because at the end of the day, we're allowed to feel differently. It's fictional. So, maybe we should, if everyone just did, like, what's that thing about if people turn a blind eye to bad things, then, like, maybe if we all just didn't allow bad things, if we just did a little bit more when we can, maybe the world will be a little bit better. Because it's interesting to look at this, at history, and see, oh my God, slavery existed. We know that it was eradicated. I don't know exactly how. Maybe the show will help us understand how. But don't forget that a form of slavery still exists today. And there is, maybe we're not the people pushing the kids into the boxes and shipping them off to the pedo islands and whatever else. Like, there's other ways, child labor and all this kinds of stuff. And it's not easy to eradicate these things. But what I'm trying to say is we should acknowledge that it still exists. And we should, if we find ourselves in a position where we can help someone, we should try as best as we can, you know? But whatever that means for you, I'm not saying you should go out into the world and start fighting slave masters. But I'm saying if you find yourself to be a person who pushes kids into a box, maybe don't. Like, if you're in that position and you can, even if you are too scared to say something because, well, then someone with more power might kill you. But don't be there. Don't continue doing it. If you're too scared to tell someone, just at least find another job, for fuck's sake. Because if no one in this world is willing to push the kids into the boxes, then the kettles of the world will have to push the kids into the boxes themselves. And then if all those kids or slaves, if 20 of them band together, like, maybe 20 11-year-old girls could take him down, maybe. But you understand what my point? Like, just don't be the guy or the girl that puts kids into boxes. If you find yourself in that position, at the very least, I do feel like there's something you can do. But whatever, I don't know. Life's tough, but it doesn't give anyone excuse to be. It doesn't give anyone life is tough, but I don't think it gives anyone an excuse to push children into boxes. But that's just a metaphor here, but it does happen in the real world. We have to acknowledge that. Slavery has not been eradicated, but hopefully we can learn from the story and not perpetuate it forever. Hopefully in the next 10 years, if we can get it down by 5% that'll be nice. Okay, now I'm just rambling. Thank you for watching. If you could make it to here, 10 out of 10 episode, and I am looking forward to next week.